Hollywood is full of bright lights, action, and fame. But behind the camera, it is not always about friendship and smiles. Some of the biggest stars have also carried big rivalries, and one name that stands out is Chuck Norris. Known around the world as a martial arts legend and action hero, Chuck built a career on toughness and discipline. But with success also came challenges and conflicts. Not every actor was his friend, and not every co-star shared good memories with him. In fact, there are a few actors Chuck Norris truly hated, and their stories may surprise you. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Chuck Norris, the man admired as a tough martial artist and Hollywood action hero, did not have an easy life. His childhood was filled with struggles. He was born in poverty, and his father was an alcoholic who left the family when Chuck was still very young. Without a strong father figure, he grew up shy, weak, and lacking confidence. At school, he was often bullied and described himself as an average student who felt invisible most of the time. These early problems shaped his desire to become stronger and protect himself. When Chuck joined the U.S. Air Force, he was sent to Korea, where he first discovered martial arts. Learning discipline through karate gave him a new purpose, but even then he faced setbacks. Returning to America, he struggled to establish himself as a professional fighter. For many years, money was tight, and he had to work extra jobs while training students in small dojos. His Hollywood journey was no easier. Producers did not take him seriously at first, seeing him only as just another fighter rather than a real actor. Breaking into films meant constant rejection and disappointment. Even when he gained fame, problems followed. Fame created jealousy, rivalries, and ego clashes with other stars. Many people in Hollywood tried to challenge his skills, while some doubted his acting ability. Another problem Chuck faced was the pressure of his public image. Fans saw him as unbeatable, but in real life, he carried the weight of expectations and personal issues. His first marriage failed due to long absences and career stress. He also dealt with criticism that questioned his fighting style compared to other martial artists. Now we talk about 6 names he dislikes the most and why. Number 1. Bruce Lee. When people talk about Chuck Norris, they often remember his famous fight with Bruce Lee in the 1972 movie Way of the Dragon. That one scene became legendary in martial arts cinema, but behind the camera, the relationship between Chuck and Bruce was far more complicated. Many fans believed the two were close friends, but in truth, their connection was mixed with rivalry, ego, and professional tension. Chuck Norris admired Bruce Lee's speed and charisma, yet he did not like being constantly compared to him. After their fight scene became iconic, the media and fans began to debate who was the real martial arts master. For Chuck, who had worked hard to establish his own identity, this constant comparison felt insulting. He wanted to be seen as a star in his own right, not as someone standing in Bruce's shadow. Bruce Lee was also a perfectionist on set. He demanded complete control during filming, and Chuck, who had his own views about martial arts, did not always agree with Bruce's methods. Chuck came from a traditional karate background, while Bruce promoted his own Jeet Kune Do philosophy, which he believed was superior. These differences in style and philosophy added fuel to their tension. Another reason for Chuck's dislike was how Hollywood treated the two men. After Bruce Lee's sudden death, he became an immortal legend. Every new martial arts actor, including Chuck, was unfairly measured against him. His made it difficult for Chuck to escape the constant shadow of comparison. He felt that no matter how many championships he won or how many hit movies he made, people would always say, "But he is not Bruce Lee." Because of these reasons, media pressure, style conflicts, and ego clashes, Chuck Norris carried resentment toward Bruce Lee, even while respecting his talent. Number 2. Steven Seagal. Another actor Chuck Norris disliked deeply was Steven Seagal. Both men were famous for their martial arts skills and Hollywood action movies, but their personalities and beliefs clashed in many ways. While Chuck built his reputation on discipline, respect, and years of proven fighting championships, Steven Seagal often carried himself with arrogance and made bold claims that angered many in the martial arts community. Seagal was known for saying that most martial artists in Hollywood, including Chuck Norris, were not real fighters. These comments reached Chuck, and he felt insulted. Norris had earned multiple world karate titles and had trained thousands of students, yet Seagal dismissed his accomplishments. This created bitterness between the two, as Chuck believed respect should always come first in martial arts. Their conflict also came from different martial arts styles. Chuck's foundation was in karate and taekwondo, while Seagal practiced aikido. Instead of showing mutual appreciation, Seagal often acted superior, saying Aikido was more practical and effective. Such comments created a silent rivalry that grew stronger over the years. On top of that, their movie careers overlapped during the late 1980s and 1990s. Action fans often compared Chuck's clean, disciplined image with Seagal's darker, tougher persona. Hollywood producers used this competition to their advantage, sometimes praising Seagal publicly at Chuck's expense. This pushed Norris further into resentment, as he felt his years of hard work were being ignored. Chuck Norris was also disturbed by Seagal's behavior off-screen. While Chuck valued humility and kindness, Seagal was often accused of mistreating co-stars and making outrageous demands on set. To Chuck, this went against the true spirit of martial arts, which teaches honor, discipline, and self-control. Because of arrogance, insults, style rivalry, and personal behavior, Chuck Norris could never get along with Steven Seagal, making him one of the actors he hated the most. Number 3. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Chuck Norris also had problems with Jean-Claude Van Damme, the Belgian actor who became famous in the late 1980s and 1990s for his flashy kicks and stylish action movies. At first, Chuck respected Van Damme's athletic ability, but over time, tension grew between them. The main issue was competition. Chuck had already established himself as a martial arts champion and film star, but Van Damme's sudden rise threatened his place in Hollywood. Fans and critics began comparing the two constantly, often asking who was the better fighter. These endless comparisons annoyed Chuck, who wanted recognition for his own career, not rivalry. Another source of conflict was their different approaches to martial arts. Chuck came from a strict karate and taekwondo background, with years of discipline, tournaments, and real fighting experience. Van Damme, on the other hand, built his reputation more on flashy movements, splits, and cinematic style than competitive fighting. While audiences loved Van Damme's showmanship, Chuck felt it lacked authenticity. He believed martial arts should be about discipline and tradition, not just movie tricks. Their personalities also clashed. Chuck Norris valued humility and respect, while Van Damme was known in Hollywood for arrogance and ego during his peak years. Many reports claimed Van Damme made bold statements about being able to defeat other stars, including Chuck. For someone like Norris, who had built his legacy on respect for opponents, such behavior was unacceptable. The rivalry became more intense because both men were chasing similar movie roles. Studios often had to choose between Chuck Norris's calm, disciplined hero and Jean-Claude Van Damme's younger, stylish action image. Producers saw Van Damme as the new generation, which made Chuck feel pushed aside. For Chuck Norris, the mix of arrogance, fake style, and Hollywood competition turned Jean-Claude Van Damme into one of the actors he disliked the most. Number 4. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Chuck Norris also carried a strong rivalry with Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the biggest action stars of the 1980s and 1990s. While the two men respected each other's physical strength, their competition in Hollywood created friction. Chuck had built his image as a martial arts hero with discipline and skill, while Arnold rose to fame as a bodybuilder turned actor with unmatched size and charisma. The problem was that both wanted to dominate the same action movie market, and producers often played them against each other. Arnold's success in blockbuster films like The Terminator and Predator overshadowed Chuck's smaller projects. This caused resentment because Norris felt his years of training and hard work were being ignored in favor of Arnold's muscles and screen presence. Chuck believed true fighting skill should matter more than physical appearance, yet Hollywood kept giving Arnold bigger budgets and more attention. Their rivalry was also fueled by personality differences. Chuck was known for humility, discipline, and quiet strength, while Arnold loved to joke, brag, and show off. In interviews, Arnold often made playful but sharp comments about being the #1 action star. Even if said in humor, these remarks irritated Chuck, who took his career and reputation seriously. Another issue was political and personal. Arnold's rise in fame turned him into a global celebrity with huge influence, while Chuck struggled to maintain the same spotlight. The media enjoyed calm, pairing their box office numbers, which made Chuck appear less successful. Over time, this comparison built bitterness. Although they occasionally appeared friendly in public, deep down Chuck saw Arnold as a rival who stole the spotlight and represented Hollywood's preference for size over skill. For Norris, this unfair competition and constant comparison made Arnold Schwarzenegger one of the actors he quietly hated. Number 5. Sylvester Stallone. Chuck Norris also had a difficult relationship with Sylvester Stallone, another giant of the action movie world. Stallone became famous with his Rocky and Rambo films, which turned him into a worldwide icon. For Chuck, this was a problem because Stallone's popularity often overshadowed his own work. In the 1980s, both men were competing for the same audience, fans who loved tough, fearless heroes. While Chuck focused on martial arts and discipline, Stallone's movies focused on emotion, drama, and raw action. Hollywood frequently favored Stallone's big-budget projects, which left Chuck feeling pushed aside. Another issue was Stallone's controlling personality. He was known to take charge of his movies, writing scripts, directing, and making sure he stayed the main focus. Chuck, who valued fairness and respect, did not like this type of behavior. When Stallone invited him to join The Expendables 2, their partnership looked friendly on screen, but off-screen, Chuck reportedly felt sidelined by Stallone's dominant role in the project. This only added to the long-standing rivalry between them. Ego was also a major reason for conflict. Stallone was proud of his success and openly spoke about being one of the greatest action stars. Chuck, who believed in humility, found this arrogance frustrating. He disliked the way Stallone promoted himself as bigger and better than everyone else, instead of showing the respect martial artists usually value. The media also played a part in fueling the tension. Fans constantly compared Chuck Norris's martial arts skills with Stallone's tough guy image. Headlines often declared Stallone the king of action, which hurt Chuck's pride. Even though Norris had a loyal following, he often felt Hollywood placed Stallone on a higher pedestal. Because of competition, ego clashes, and Hollywood politics, Chuck Norris considered Sylvester Stallone one of the actors he struggled to get along with and quietly disliked. Number 6. Joe Louis. Among all the people Chuck Norris had conflicts with, Joe Louis stood out because their rivalry began not in Hollywood, but in the martial arts world. Joe Louis was one of the most respected American karate champions of his time, and in the 1960s and 1970s, he was considered nearly unbeatable. Chuck and Joe were once friends, training partners, and even allies in promoting martial arts across the United States. However, over time, respect turned into competition, and competition turned into dislike. One of the main problems was jealousy. Both men wanted to be recognized as the best karate fighter in America. When Chuck started winning championships and gaining fame, Joe felt overshadowed. Similarly, when Joe received attention as a powerful fighter, Chuck felt his own legacy was being questioned. The martial arts community often debated who was the real champion, and these endless comparisons fueled bitterness. Their conflict was not only about fighting, but also about business. Both Chuck and Joe opened martial arts schools and wanted students to follow their style. Rival dojos meant rivalry in income and reputation. Each man believed his method was superior, and this competition damaged their friendship further. When both entered Hollywood, the problems continued. Chuck Norris found more long-term success in movies, while Joe Louis struggled to achieve the same level of stardom. Reports suggest Joe accused Chuck of turning his back on the martial arts community by becoming too focused on fame and Hollywood. Chuck, on the other hand, believed Joe was bitter and disrespectful. This mix of personal jealousy, professional rivalry, and hurt pride made Chuck Norris and Joe Louis bitter opponents for years. Even though they once shared respect as fighters, the rivalry eventually turned into dislike, making Joe Louis one of the actors Chuck Norris hated the most. In the end, Chuck Norris built a legendary career filled with victories, movies, and worldwide fame. But his journey was never free of conflicts. Behind the scenes, rivalries with actors like Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Joe Louis shaped much of his story. Some of these clashes came from ego, some from style differences, and others from Hollywood competition. Yet, despite the hate and tension, Chuck Norris proved that discipline, hard work, and resilience can overcome obstacles. His name remains unforgettable, even among the legends he once called rivals.